What's up, guys? We have some NASCAR news to go over. It was announced yesterday and today. Lots of news. Actually, one of the biggest parts of news coming out just before I'm recording this video. But let's start with some of the news that was announced yesterday. Let's firstly start with what was alluded to a couple months ago, that Chase Briscoe is returning to Stewart-Haas Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series full-time next year in 2020. The reports I read all said he is returning to the 98 car, but that could change to the 00. It seems like they're taking the 00 equipment over to the 98, except Mike Shiplet won't be the crew chief there. It'll probably be the same crew chief Briscoe had 2019 as 2020. And there is no sponsor announced yet. Ford Performance will probably be the main sponsor on that car. But besides that, like we know, 2019 Briscoe had Nutri-Chomps as his primary sponsor for the first 13 races. It seems like that may not happen, anything like that, for 2020. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But yes, that's nice to see Chase Briscoe back full-time Xfinity for Stewart-Haas Racing in 2020. The Team Penske crew chiefs are all mismatched now. So Paul Wolfe, long-standing crew chief with Brad Keselowski ever since their championship days, will now be with Joey Logano. Todd Gordon, crew chief champion with Joey Logano, long-standing crew chief with Joey Logano, will now be Ryan Blaney's crew chief, and Jeremy Bullins, Ryan Blaney's crew chief ever since Blaney was with Wood Brothers, is now going to be Brad Keselowski's crew chief. So there is lots of craziness going on there. The road crews are all going with the crew chief, so let's say like Keselowski's, Paul Wolfe's road crew, which was with Keselowski, is now going to Logano, so stuff like that. But the spotters for each car are staying the same as they were, so the spotters are not moving. I mean, looks like Keselowski's kind of getting the short end of the stick here. Logano should be fine with Paul Wolfe. They may take some getting used to. And I think the best is Ryan Blaney with Todd Gordon. Definitely a championship caliber crew chief. So is Paul Wolfe. I'm not quite sure about Jeremy Bullins, but interesting that they're putting him with Bad Brad there. And more crew chief news is that Bubba Wallace's crew chief will be different. His crew chief from 2019 was offered a spot in Richard Petty Motorsports, just not as Bubba's crew chief, but the crew chief for Bubba Wallace in 2020 in the number 43 will be Jerry Baxter. Jerry Baxter was the crew chief with GMS Racing in the Truck Series for Brett Moffitt in 2019, and now will be moving to Bubba in the Cup Series. Now, he was with Bubba, got 5 truck wins with Bubba in 2013 and 2014, so he has some experience with him and could have that nice work. It could work out pretty well. And the USAF Thunderbirds will do the flyover at the 2020 Daytona 500, one of the best flyovers ever. They will return to the Daytona 500. Now, we have the biggest news, and I don't quite know how I feel about this news, and I can't just read it to you because it's too confusing, too complicated, so I'm going to pull it up here. So what exactly is it? Well, what exactly it is that in the select Xfinity and select truck races, mostly the ones where they are not companioned with the Cup Series. So as you can see here, in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, we have Mid-Ohio, Iowa, and Road America. Now, that's both Iowa races. So that's 4 races for Xfinity. And with the Truck Series, we have Iowa, Gateway, and Canadian Tire. So that's 3. Now, there will not be live pit stops. So what that means is basically you have like a certain amount of time, and in that certain amount of time you're going to change tires and do whatever, except it's a lot more complicated. It's not like you go in there, you will keep your position is basically the biggest part of it. So if we look here, so here's the concept of the pit stop procedure, they call it, the concept. Field frozen when caution is displayed. Okay, stage breaks. You'll have a full pit cycle, 2 opportunities to pick. to pit non-stage breaks, you have a full pit cycle. You have 2 opportunities to pit. Optional quickie yellow is only 1 opportunity to pick. The team roster will consist of 8 crew members. Now that is actually one more in the Xfinity and 2 more in the trucks, and than they usually had. So that's basically, you're not going to even have a pit crew. You're just going to have these 8 crew members on the team roster. The pit crew, 4 to service the car, 1 fueler, and 1 driver assist, must be drawn from those 8 crew members. See, there are not going to be separate pit crews. Pit stop must be completed within a designated time period. Okay, oval track. Teams may add fuel and change 2 tires per pit stop. Road course. Teams may add fuel or change 4 tires per pit stop. Just kind of soak that in there. Teams may add or change 4 tires. All right, now here's the restart. In order at time of caution based on number of pit stops in the following order. Vehicles that did not pit, obviously, are going to be the first ones. Vehicles that pitted 1 time, followed by the vehicles that pitted 2 times, and then third will be the free pass, the wave around, and the penalty vehicles, obviously. All right, let's go up to here. The restart tail end exceed time limit on pit road. If involved in incident, allowed to change 4 tires at once to avoid damaging the vehicle. Pitting other than the designated lap. Okay. And minus 2 laps. So these are the penalties. Perform 4 tires and fuel on any pit stop. Change tires under green unless approved by NASCAR for damage. Okay. Perform 4 tires on any pit stop. Oval track only. Look at that. That is some rough penalties right there. I mean, man. I can't deny that these are some rough penalties, these no live pit stop stuff. And also, if you're still kind of confused with this little display, this little chart thing that's showing you here, also, J-Ski, see, and you can look at what people are saying about it on Twitter. Look, people think this is a really good move. It's honestly not. I still, Tommy Joe Martins, shut up, Tommy Joe Martins. Oh, and here's some more news. Ryan Sparks named as crew chief for Go Fast Racing for Corey LaJoie. Alrighty then, we got that news right here, right as it was announced. Let's see what Jim Utter says. Reps from Junior Motorsports and Thor Sport Racing agree the new pit stop rules will save teams money. That's the point of it, but also help level the playing field on pit road, which can be a huge disparity based on size of teams. Look, I get it, but does it really have to be like this? And see, this is what I was talking about. Let's read it here. It's still annoying to me. There's the display we just looked at. So NASCAR officials introduced rules changes Tuesday for pit stops, both for personnel and procedures in select Xfinity Series and Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series events this season. They are designed to enhance pit strategy and to streamline the personnel performing pit stops at those specified races. The rules will be in place for 4 Xfinity Series races, as I already went over. You can read it there. And Gander Trucks teams will operate within these rules at 3 events. In these 7 events total, team rosters will not have designated pit crew members. Each series will have a maximum of 8 road crew members at each of these races, who will also perform over-the-wall duties during pit stops, 4 to service the car, like tires and jacks, and I already told you that. The road crew total signifies an increase of 1 for Xfinity teams and 2 for Gander Trucks teams. Peterson said the rationale for implementing these rules at standalone events was to provide efficiencies for the teams instead of a reliance on specialized pit crew members from Cup Series teams, which makes sense because lots of times they do use Cup Series pit crew members, and when they're at like a different track than Cup, it kind of gets confusing and rough there. 2 standalone Gander Trucks events were excluded July 30th at Eldora Speedway, which has rules unique to the Dirt Track Showdown, and June 5th at Texas Motor Speedway because it's such a long race and fuel mileage comes into play a bunch in that truck race. During a yellow flag full cycle, non-quickie yellow, pit stop at oval tracks, a team may change 2 tires and add fuel. For a 4-tire stop, a team must pit a second time during the caution period. At road courses for a full cycle caution period, a team may change 4 tires or add fuel. A team opting for 4 tires and fuel must take a second trip to pit road. Peterson indicated that there are no immediate plans to expand the use of these pit stop and crew personnel rules in more races or beyond the Xfinity and Gainer Truck Series in 2021 and beyond. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's interesting there that they have this. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh, we have to rush to do it. You know, you're going to have this designated time to do it, and you do it. You keep your position. That's the thing. You're going to keep your position after you take the pit stop, unless you do this. Unless you take 2 pit stops. But if you're 1 pit stop besides the people who like didn't pit, so let's say there's 3 trucks that only did 1 pit stop, and you're the first. You're going to stay first in that line, but then you're going to be behind the people who didn't pit, but you're going to be in front of the people who pitted twice, and then behind that will be the people who, you know, had penalties and all the wave around and free passes. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really hoped you enjoyed, and yeah, Chase Briscoe returning to Stewart-Haas, Penske crew chiefs, Bubba's crew chief, Go Fast's crew chief, the Thunderbirds at Daytona, and this crazy pit stop procedure. So yeah, no live pit stops for a few races that are just standalones for the lower series. So thank you so much for watching, like I said, and bye-bye, guys.